Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Shipyards. I'm Commander Exorcist. Welcome to episode 26 of the After Action Report, my weekly show where I go over the news and happenings in the Space Engineers universe. Before we get started, if you enjoy the content I create on this channel, then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure notifications are turned on so that you don't miss any of my Space Engineers content. You'll find links in the description for Discord, Patreon, merch, and more. News is very light this week since there have been no developer showcase live streams recently due to the upcoming major releases for both SE1 and SE2. In fact, I expect the explicit development news throughout the holiday season to be light, so I'll do my best to cover what I can find. We are slightly over a week away from the release of Space Engineers version 1.208, which we now know is called Core Systems, and it is hoped that shortly after that, we'll see the release of VS2 Planets and Survival Fundamentals for Space Engineers 2. Marek has covered the development of VS2 extensively in his dev diary, and I've covered as much of the development for both games on this show as I possibly can. But what is next for Space Engineers after the incoming major update? In January, when Space Engineers 2 entered into early access alpha state, community members were understandably concerned that Space Engineers would be immediately abandoned in favor of its looming successor. Keen assured players that work would continue on SE1 while SE2 was coming together, but that the SE1 team was much smaller than in previous years to allow for development of the new game. When Apex Survival arrived in September, the developers gave the community a look into several planned expansions for the original Space Engineers. On the post-release livestream, we learned that Core Systems would be a custodian update with fixes for many of the game's basic features, and that 1.209 would be focused on refining the game's economy system. Economics first appeared in Space Engineers in April 2019, which is long before I got here, and it introduced new systems for trading, contracts, and space currency. The projected 1.209 update, which I'm affectionately calling Economy 2: The Search for More Money, is, according to the developers, designed to enhance the trade, contract, and other systems to make them more dynamic and engaging for players. Economy is one of the Space Engineer systems I can say that I have engaged with the least, mainly because I spend most of my time in creative mode. But if Keen uses the same methods for retooling Economy that they did for the random encounters with Apex Survival, then it might finally be time for me to build a colossal freighter and make my infinity billions among the stars. In this week's extensive dev diary, Marek pulled back the curtain on the feature list for VS2 in Space Engineers 2, and we get our first comprehensive look at all of the anticipated features in the impending update. The Almagest star system will be fully traversable with planets and asteroid fields. At the center of the system is the L-class brown dwarf star Delphos. Beyond the playable area's borders is Almagest, the main star and game's light source. The new planets boast some of the most advanced technology we've seen, with diverse biomes ranging from temperate forests to deserts and snowy plains. Scattered across these regions is the new flora system and handcrafted overhangs, caves, and natural wonders. The planets in SE2 are built using many of the same principles as its predecessor, so every inch of the world is destructible, allowing you to bend or blast the environment to your will. The fundamentals of colonization will also arrive with this update. The Almagest star system itself, along with 2 playable sectors, will open up for players to explore and colonize. This includes the storyline onboarding phase with introduction, voiceover, narrative, and cutscenes. We'll also see basic contract systems implemented, along with fast travel and a basic GPS system, although players will not have the ability to set custom waypoints in the initial release. Perhaps the most anticipated and exciting part of the VS2 update is the survival mode fundamentals. Finally, we will be able to use the blocks we've been building in SE2 to survive in the harsh environment of Kemek or in the lush mountain ranges of Verdure. One of the largest changes with survival in SE2 is the introduction of backpack building. Engineers' own backpacks can now craft some basic materials, enabling them to build certain items without having to return to base to deposit and refine their raw materials. And as previously mentioned, projection building will be a core feature of survival in SE2, and it will arrive with this update along with the addition of modular blueprint building and, praise Clang, build mirroring. Survival implementation will see the first true functionality of the blocks in SE2 as basic production systems, manufacturing, and power systems will become active. We can expect the first iteration of the production, grid, respawn, and player inventory screens, as well as improvements to the G screen. Ore detection will work for both the drill and ore detector blocks, along with the need for players to find and balance the use of consumables like hydrogen, energy, and health. It certainly won't be the advanced survival experience that players have come to know from the original Space Engineers, but it will bring a fully viable survival loop to SE2. Additionally, we'll also see the inclusion of a host of new tools and blocks. We'll finally get our hands on the next generation of the welder, grinder, and drill. And additionally, we can expect a large number of new blocks to appear, including the survival kit, smelter, batteries, atmospheric thrusters, contract block, hydrogen tanks, and more. Finally, Marek gave us a look at what's coming next after VS2 hits. The updated SE2 roadmap shows a series of regular updates and additions to the game, leading up to VS 2.2 survival extensions through VS4 NPCs and 4-person multiplayer. He states that once VS2 is live, it will be easier for the team to implement their plans for subgrids and special blocks like rotors and pistons, of which we got a nice preview of renderings for their next generation designs. There is still no official word on the release date for VS2, but work on tickets and polishing continues, so an announcement could come at any time. So what do you think of the plans to improve economy in the next major Space Engineers update? Will it encourage you to engage more with the mechanic, or are you a go-your-own-way kind of engineer? And what are you most excited for, survival or planets, in the upcoming VS2 release? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll be back next week with more Space Engineers. Until then, I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I'll see you out there.